Tom Downey here for the Cowboys Report. Let's break down the latest on the defensive coordinator search. Certainly seems, at least, like the Cowboys are expanding their defensive coordinator search, although I don't know just how much more expansive it will end up getting. We'll break down the candidates who could be added and where things sit. We will also have for you guys more updates on this Cowboys coordinator search, so make sure you are subscribed. As a reminder, if we get to 188,000 subscribers before the end of February, we will give away a C.D. Lamb jersey. So you want more free Cowboys videos and a chance to win a jersey, hit that sub button right now. Here's what Nick Harris of Cowboys.com reported on the Cowboys defensive coordinator search late Wednesday night. The Dallas Cowboys completed day 3 of interviews for their vacant defensive coordinator spot on Wednesday, as the team was interviewed Mike Zimmer, Ron Rivera, Aden, Durde, and Rex Ryan. There are expected to be multiple more names thrown into the mix in a search that the front office seems willing to extend into next week. Treating that as the truth there and accurate, and that if it stays the plan, doesn't seem like urgency is a big priority. And there doesn't really need to be, in the sense that most of this team's defensive staff, in theory, is going to stay in place. Cowboys are blocking interviews. They don't want to have to buy out a coaching staff on the defense side of the ball, pay a new staff, and then buy them out again next year. I don't think that's what Jerry wants to do. Whether or not that's the right argument, that is where I think the reality is. So we know one more name beyond what had been mentioned of the multiple names. We know one of them, right? The known candidates. We know Ron Rivera, Mike Zimmer, Rex Ryan, Aden, Durde. More on those guys in a little bit. The newest name is Marquand Manuel, the Jets assistant, who's a safeties coach right now for them, has had other DC interviews. The Texans interviewed him last time, and in kind of a hilarious twist of fate, was once Dan Quinn's defensive coordinator and got fired by Dan Quinn after he brought him over from Seattle. There's a, humorous irony to the whole thing of interviewing a DC to replace Dan Quinn who got fired by Dan Quinn. I don't know. Eagles DB coach in 2020, safeties coach. In general, I look at the Jets, and there's also some secondary stuff involved there for Marquand as well. Hey, the Jets defense is pretty darn good. So not the worst interview. Also, that interview going down today on Thursday would put them in compliance with the Rooney Rule of 2 minority outside candidates. So we'll go to in-depth with some of the current candidates. I'm actually going to rank them from what I would do 5-1 of the known guys. What is your confidence level in this Cowboys defensive coordinator search? Scale it for me from 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. If the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and go vote. Now, I'm going to rank these guys from 5 to 1. And in general, don't love the groupings. Not an attractive job. It makes some sense. Rex Ryan is number 5 for me. I have a very difficult time hiring a defensive coordinator whose last top 10 defense by points scored came almost 15 years ago. It's a very long time that happened. In fact, it was actually closer to the Jimmy Johnson era than what it is today. I don't like that idea. The Bills, we are all, Rex Ryan is still feasting off of those Ravens defenses for 2 years and the first couple years of the Jets when their defenses were great, but they got bad by the end. They actually weren't that good. They didn't last long in Buffalo. And they had a bunch of issues on defense there too. They couldn't stop the run. They were a bottom 5 run defense at the end. Like his last 4 years, he had as many top 10 run defenses as bottom 10 run defenses. My other issue here is this. What is the plan with this Dallas Cowboys team? Are you all in to win right now, or are you trying to retool and rebuild things on defense? Because you can't really have it both ways. I feel like there's just different factions in this organization that want to interview different people, have differences of who they want as the DC, from Rivera from McCarthy to the Joneses, etc. A new scheme would take some time. There is an adjustment period, especially when there is a big change like Rex Ryan. It's a different style. And also, Ryan hasn't coached in the NFL for damn near a decade. He's going to need time too. Yes, Rex Ryan knows football. That is the bare minimum to being a coach, not a reason why you get hired. It's like, yeah, the players love him. That's the minimum to staying as a head coach. not the reason why you keep someone as a head coach. So, look, Rex Ryan, in a different scenario, you could maybe talk me into it more. This team, this situation, this long removed from the game, no, I don't have any interest. At that point, why aren't we just hiring guys like John Fox and Wade Phillips if we're just going to go with the ultimate boomer coaching search? Today's show is made possible by Game Time. If you are going to the big game this year and not waiting for our team to make it, you can use promo code Vegas100 for $100 off a big game ticket. If you are going to, I think you know what I mean by the big game, right? In Vegas, between two teams that have red in them, right? If you're going and you're not using Game Time, you're leaving money on the table. It's $100 they're taking off chicken. You can bet it all on black or maybe on red since it's, those two teams. That's promo code Vegas100. If you are not going, you can still get $20 off your first purchase by using promo code Cowboys Chat. That's COWBOYSCHAT for $20 off your first purchase. The links and the promo code are going to be in the comment section and the description of today's show. I will make note, Vegas 100 is available for any user. Cowboys Chat is for new users only. Number 4 on my list is Ron Rivera. And frankly, you can talk me into preferring Ryan over Rivera. Rivera's coached more recently, but the results have not been that great on defense. And I think Rivera in particular is kind of more of the results are very closely aligned to just how good his talent was, even to a more extreme extent than others are. But, I mean, let's say we check in a day, 2, 3, whatever. It's like, Ron Rivera is the new DC. Is anyone excited about it? Is it like, oh, yeah, Ron Rivera, we're going to fix the defense? Like, does anyone feel that way? No. It almost feels like, well, there was no one else we liked. We demanded experience. We're just going to go with that one. Bland and uninspiring. And will probably be how your defense would play to a certain extent as well. Who do you want as the Cowboys defensive coordinator? Sound off for me in the comment section right now. 3 and 2, again, are kind of tiered, and I don't love either of them either. We spent some time on Marquand. Outside name, good defense. There's some things to like about it, but again, it's not like it's a super inspiring choice. Again, kind of by default, Aden Durde is number 2 for me. Maybe he's a sleeper for this job. In general, I do think when it comes to coaching searches and everything, we can learn stuff from what other teams are trying to do. And Aden Durde has interest from other teams. The Seahawks have spoken to him about the DC. That's the only other unfilled job at this stage. Not sure they'd go that route, but I think it should be at least somewhat telling to us that Aden Durde's got 5 defensive coordinator interviews. And that's as many as these other DCs combined, including the Cowboys interviews for themselves. That should be noteworthy, right? It's the Seahawks, Packers, Falcons, Rams. Obviously, 3 of those teams have hired DCs. I don't really think you end up with 5 DC interviews by being terrible. You might not be the answer. That's fine. But that seems significant to me. Now, not even as DC, but as the defensive line coach, do you want to keep Aden Durde? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Go ahead and sound off for me in the comment section right now. I know some are justifiably upset about the defensive line play, and if it ever comes out that it's Durde's fault that Mozzie Smith lost weight, he goes 225. All the way down at the bottom, don't care. But, Dorrance Armstrong had some better play with him. Oso Odighizuwa had some better play. And when there's that much interest in somebody, compared to someone like Al Harris, more on him in a little bit, I do think that should be telling. I do think we can go, maybe the NFL as a whole knows something here, or thinks they know something here. I'm a little surprised that, Dan Quinn didn't go after him as hard as others, but maybe that was a known block thing there. He's got a lot of experience with this organization too. Cowboys D-line coach, worked under Dan Quinn, Cowboys intern. The NFL UK work experience, by the way, was doing some, DC stuff for, I'm going to call it high school level ball. It's not, it was European professional, but that's like high school level as far as I'm concerned. A lot of stuff with the player pathway program. Clearly has fans around the league. Should be worth considering. So almost kind of by default, then it's Mike Zimmer is number one for me. And we're kind of like, we're teetering on is it that different than some of the Rivera, Ryan things? Zimmer's, the big difference here is, although the last 2 years of Zimmer's career were not great on defense in Minnesota, pretty much everything else was. He was far more consistent about producing top 10 defenses than, Ron and Rex were. Vastly more. And has had good success against the Shanahan tree. It's a little tough for me to go, Rex Ryan can do it. Well, he hasn't seen the Shanahan tree as a coach in 8 years. That doesn't really appeal to me. Rivera's not done a great job of stopping it necessarily either. Zimmer has. It might not work. There is a very real outcome that, hey, you know what? The reality is that it's going to be a downgrade from Dan Quinn. It's a real possibility. It's not an appealing job. But of the known candidates, this is the top one. Not saying it's a home run hire, but of the 5 guys interviewed so far, stands out. If they do end up interviewing someone like a Don Martindale, yeah, that should be right alongside it there. Other notes here I want to get into on the coaching staff side. The Commanders and Dan Quinn trying to redistribute the coaching wealth, and the Cowboys are saying no to some of these. What they've done is blocked interviews for tight ends coach Lunda Wells and DBs coach Al Harris. Now, in general, when coaching interviews get blocked, oftentimes it's the coach saying, I actually don't want to leave. Can you block it for me so I don't burn a bridge? That happens sometimes too. Also, they're under contract. Only way you can block an interview. In this case, the Cowboys did allow interviews for Sharif Floyd, the assistant defensive tackles coach, and Pete Onegan, the quality control coach. These make sense to me. What the Cowboys are doing here are blocking the lateral moves of Al Harris and Lunda Wells, which, by the way, would have been offensive line coach for Lunda Wells. He's got some O-line experience background, too. And promotions of Sharif Floyd, who was a Dan Quinn guy originally anyway, and Pete Onegan from quality control to, in theory, like full-time job. Those are promotions they would be allowing, potentially leaving for. And are we going to be mad about, losing Floyd or Onegan? I don't think so there. So I think that makes sense. And Dan Quinn can keep his hands off my coaching staff beyond what he's already taken so far.